this is Nia with the Rainbow Cauldron, and today is March 9th, 2014. The moon is waxing and in Cancer. Okay, so the first card that I put down will be from the Druid Animal Oracle deck, and it'll basically represent the general theme or feeling throughout the day, something to think about. The four cards surrounding it will be from the Wildwood Tarot deck, and will represent morning time, around lunchtime, early evening, and nighttime. Okay, so the first card is the dog. Okay, so obviously the first feeling that I get from this, the first word that pops into my head when I see dog is loyalty. And of course, I think that's what most people think of when they think of dogs is a loyal sort of energy. And and that is what this card represents. It represents loyalty, protection, guidance, and it's the dog really calls us to defend our values and to protect what we believe in, and to kind of keep the faith, if that makes sense. Really, have a sense of I don't want to say courage. Courage isn't quite the right word that I'm looking for, but it's a sense of defense and standing up for what you believe in, and being loyal to your roots, and really having the faith, and that's what we're feeling today. So we'll see what cards surround it. Okay, so the first card in the morning, we have the Eight of Air. This deck is arrows, but as I said in the weekly video, I cut off the edges of all these cards because I didn't like the border and I didn't like the words they had on there. And I rewrote the name of each card on here with gold ink. And I gave each of the suited cards elemental names. So instead of the arrows, which is swords in regular deck, I called this the Eight of Air. Okay, so Eight of Air. And then we have the Hermit. This is a pretty cool looking card. It's very Christmassy. And then we have the Two of Earth. And I'll get to this when we get to the reading, but this card is very different than most Two of Pentacles in other decks. In this deck, it's the Two of Stones, but as I said, I gave them element names. Okay, but I'll get to that when we do the reading. And finally, the Three of Air, Three of Arrows. Okay, so this is going to be a tough day. I mean, these cards are all kind of not so much negative as it is maybe challenging, and it's a day that's a little bit more having to do with self-reflection and dealing with some difficult times here. We're starting out with the Eight of Air here, and this is really talking about a struggle, and that was actually what the card said. The words underneath it wrote the word struggle next to it, and I think this is one of the cards that word actually I felt was very relevant to the card. The reason why I got rid of the edging on a lot of these cards is because the guiding word that they have, a lot of them just didn't seem to fit with the card for me personally. But this one actually did. It had the word struggle on there, and I think that's the right word for this. The Eight of Arrows or Air is struggling to get out of the situation, and feeling that you're all alone in this struggle. But what I notice about this is that back here is where it's really just barren, all sorts of dead plants back there, and over here we have a larger tree that's still growing, and this river that this person has passed. Oh, it just got dark in here. Hold on. What I think that this is really representing is that the hard part has actually already passed us, and this person is still feeling like there's a lot more difficulty on the way. But what this card is saying is that the hard part is actually behind you, and you have this guiding light, and it is going to get easier from that point on. So there's a sort of silver lining to this. There's a struggle getting past something, but the hard part was behind us, and this card is telling us to realize that. And we move on to the Hermit. And this is really talking about taking some time to reflect on that, and some time alone, really, and really to delve deep into that, taking that alone time to process what you've gone through, and to really think about what you're doing, where to go. It's a lot of card that has to do with wanting to be alone to really process this, and not necessarily needing. It's a sort of needing to be alone. This one, we're starting off kind of on this journey where it feels like we are all alone. So this wanting to be with other people, wanting help, and then moving on to a needing to process that alone. So it's kind of interesting where this card does not so much, it doesn't want to be alone, or doesn't wishes it had some help, and then here we have that wanting to be alone. But it's not so much a struggle as it is sitting down and taking a breather and really processing what's been going on. And this card, like I said, this one is actually very different than the normal, the traditional tarot decks. The Two of Pentacles is what this card is in traditional decks. In traditional decks, the Two of Pentacles has to do with balancing and juggling, having a lot of things on your plate and kind of juggling them around, that sort of energy. But with this one has a lot to do with conflict. So it's a little bit different than the traditional card. And this one really makes me think of that Two of Bows. Two of Bows from the weekly reading. And the Two of Bows had two the guy was holding identical bows in his hand, and they were both flaming fiery, and he was using those two bows, as a that were coming from different directions, but both fiery and passionate, and trying to bring those two views together in a way that created stability, and created a new path, or a new point of view, a gateway of sorts. And here we have a similar idea. We have two ideas, or two people, and they're both coming from solid facts. And I see that because they're both standing on stones. And stones are something that in this deck, I really pay attention to, because rock really represents stability. So when I see animals, or things like, other important parts of the card, where they're standing on rocks, to me that shows that they're coming from a place of solid facts. They're coming from, I guess that's okay, but they're two viewpoints, or the two people are coming from places where their facts are right. And I noticed too that they look very similar. So it's almost like this is like fighting yourself, because these two rabbits are almost exactly the same looking, and I feel like that's sort of a um, fighting with yourself. Maybe two ideas of your own that's coming through that you can't really decide. But I feel like this is less about a decision and more about a conflict. And yeah, that's the feeling that I'm getting from that one. And that card just didn't look good with the lighting in here. It's a very pretty card actually, but the lighting in here is so weird right now that this card just doesn't seem to look good with it. All right, and then we come down here to the Three of Arrows, and this card, you know, obviously it looks very similar to the traditional deck where it has a big heart with three swords going through it, and obviously this is three arrows hitting a board that is shaped like a heart. And typically the Three of Swords or the Three of Arrows, Three of Air, has to do with uh, a broken heart, basically, and a blow to the emotions, a something, uh, you know, something a heartache, that sort of feeling. And it also has to do with jealousy. And this was actually the word that they had on this card, and I think that's possibly in some readings might be accurate. What I feel from this is I really notice how this wood plank is on fire, and fire has a lot to do with passion. And you know, I really noticed that the wood plank is on fire, and fire has a lot to do with passion and energy. And so I feel like this is something that you feel very strongly about, but it's unstable. It's on fire. This is wood, so wood is just going to deteriorate from all this passion. And it's all up in the air. And earlier I said that with this deck I pay a lot of attention to rock and stone, and I noticed that this heart is very far, it's up in the air, it's far away from this stone, which to me tells me that it's this unstable emotions. So it's that feeling of you're gonna just crash at any moment. It's um, there there's a lot of emotion going on, and um, it's not logical, and it's not stable, and it's emotion that is just ready to crash and burn. And I feel like that's how you, or you know, and of course, this is not going to be representative of everyone, but for those that it is representative for, I feel like it's you know, you're just ready to crash into bed and just sleep the night away because you've had sort of an emotional day. You started off feeling um, uh, struggling on a path and feeling alone, and then wanting to be alone to really process that path and really process what to do, not really wanting to be told what to do, just sort of needing to process that, and coming at odds either with yourself or with someone else, or two ideas coming at odds that are both seem to be coming from the same place, both seem to be rooted in some sort of fact or stability, but they're at odds with each other. So it's something it's frustrating, and this just sort of feels like a um, being sort of at emotionally depleted. And that's what I feel from this, is just ready to crash, ready to go to bed. And we have to remember this energy of the dog here, and the dog is really reminding us to keep our faith. And and whatever that means to you, um, stay strong is kind of what the dog is telling us, is that, you know, this is not something that's going to be long lasting. This is not um, uh, going to be ever enduring. The dog really reminds us to that this is temporary, and we'll get past this, we'll get over it, and you know, to keep the faith, to remain, try to remain calm, and just, you know, and also defend where you're coming from, defend what you believe in, defend your values, and stay loyal to your roots. And that's really what the dog's telling us today. So, okay, so I hope tomorrow fares a little bit better, since today looks like it was a bit rough, probably emotionally rough. Um, I'm sorry about the lighting today. It's a little later than I usually film these, and it's that time of the day where the light kind of just goes in and out. So, anyway, thank you so much, and blessed be.